Welcome everybody back to Boost Emotion, guys, and today we're going to talk about it. Now that you got your Q50, you took care of all your maintenance. Now let's talk about modifying your Infinity Q50. We're all only talking about VR30s here. I want to clear this up just in case anybody clicks into this video. So guys, let's go and jump into the video. First thing, shout out to my whole Boost Emotion family. I appreciate you guys for your support. Listen, over the years, a lot of you guys are just now getting to the Q50 realm. These cars are getting a lot more affordable. So there's really no videos on how to do A through Z on these cars. And I was one of the guys who were doing it. So this is the saga. Check the video about before this on the second episode on how to pretty much maintenance your car. Some of the requirements to do before maintenance before modifying or modifications, okay? And then also at the first video I talked about trying to find the specific Q50 that you want to start, the proper template, because if you pick the wrong car at the start, it can put you into so much more issues moving forward. So guys, let's jump into it. Now, if you saw the last video, I ended that one talking about brakes, right? And I said once you get into certain modifications, or I would say maintenance, where you have to replace large components to the vehicle, now we got to talk about actually modifying the car. And what I left off is with, like I said, with brakes. And I started talking about going with high friction pads and or semi-metallic pads, right? That's still part of modifying your vehicle, because if your car is at 300-400 horsepower, you can use the OEM brakes. You go with any cheap brakes that you might find at LC Delco, Advanced Auto Parts, and AutoZone, and they'll probably do pretty good because you're not really pushing the car. But for some of you guys, you're going to be tuning the car, you're going to be adding downpipes, exhaust, E85, maybe larger turbos, and you might be going to that higher strata of wanting the car to be fast. Well, guess what? You need to slow down. You got to slow down. So I talked about going with different friction pads. I'm not going to give any recommendations here in this video. There's plenty of information out there, but I've had EBCs, Hawks, and I had Stop Techs before. They all were great pads, right? Depending on which one you chose. But here's the deal, right? My own personal experience. BBK is necessary and required. Once you start going into that 500, 600, 100 horsepower category and you are pushing some serious speed, the baby brakes are not going to do. Okay? I've had people tell me my brakes are glowing when I'm shutting down for 150. And the car is braking. I use Hawk 5.0 pads with regular OEM blank rotors. And it did its thing. But I can tell that it's doing the best it could do, right? So you have to go with larger BBK. Of course, you can go with the OEM Akabono BBK, and I recommend that these are the best ones to go with because they're the most affordable, most accessible, and plenty of Nissan Infiniti vehicles came from them. So you could actually buy them used, rebuild them, or used, and if they're in good condition, slap them right on your Q50. That's it, with some new rotors that you could get from, let's say, Rock Auto, which are pretty cheap, boost on a budget, and some high friction pads, and you will see astronomically how better the brake performance is, right? So that is the first recommendation when modifying your car. Let's start there when it comes to performance, because I don't really care about so much making the car fast. I know you want to change the dynamics of the car fast already, but I want you guys to be able to stop, okay? All right, don't hustle backwards. Now, number two we want to talk about is suspension. In the last video, I was talking about how if you have a higher mileage Q50, the stock suspension is probably blown. Understand now that you're going to be looking to replacing your OEM suspension. Once you add more torque, there's going to be a lot more compression and decompression on the rear shocks. If they're blown, the car is going to be very unstable at highway speeds, and they're going to beat up your tires too. So my recommendation now is coilovers, or you can replace and go with OEMs. This one is really up to your paper, but it's actually very similar when it comes to money. When you have to replace the shocks, it will be kind of expensive depending on the aftermarket for just the shocks. Yes, it may be $400 or $500 just for the shocks alone, then you put the stock shocks in. If that's something that you feel comfortable doing, that's fine, because then you go back to OEM compression for the stock suspension. And depending on how much power, it'll suffice if you're okay with the monster truck look. But for people who want to modify their car, you need to start looking into coilovers, because it's going to allow you to actually pick the specific spring rates that you want, and or upgraded spring rates, so that first thing you change the appearance of the car. You lower the center of gravity. Also, it looks a lot good when the car is lower and the tire and the wheel is a lot closer and it's flush. You know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm talking about. So you could actually go with plenty of different coilovers out there. I would recommend, if it's too cheap, they're going to blow. If it's too cheap, they're going to blow. I always stuck with BC Racing coilovers. Some people say they're shit. They ride like shit. But I did not have those issues with BC Racing coilovers at all. And I had it on 2 different cars. I did have to rebuild 2 shocks because I was daily driving my Q50 in Brooklyn, New York, and I had spring rates in the front at 24K. So it were getting a beating over time, but I put that between 2 different cars with like 40,000, 50,000 miles on it. It did its business. At the names, it did its business. So I recommend going BC Racing coilovers or I shouldn't give a recommendation, any racing coilover that's high quality for middle price and above, and make sure it's installed properly and the preload is set properly. After you do that, preload, everything's installed properly, you find the height, you get alignment for the car. Make sure the car is aligned for where you need to be, find the height that you want everything to settle, and boom, you're locked in. Now, I kind of want to add this other asterisk there, tires. Now, in the last video, I talked about if the tires are worn, change them out, right? Well, here's the thing. If you're modifying the car, now you can start playing with different type of tire sizes and or tire brands or tire, I would say not chemicals, how the construction tire. Some tires out there that, like triple R8s are used for like more performance courses. You might go with a Mickey Thompson because you just care more about hooking. If you go to the drag, get a tire for your needs. If you're an everyday driver, you're gonna need an all-season tire or a summer tire that is used for your daily life, depending on what you are. If you like to do a lot of launches from 0 to 60 or from stoplights, you're gonna need a tire that's more about traction, dry traction, because that's what you're looking for. But if you want a tire that, if you know you live in like Florida, you're not going to really need an all-season tire for snow. You'll go for more of a summer tire, something that gives you a lot of higher mileage. It can give you 40, 50, 60,000 miles depending on the construction of it. If you live like somewhere like Chicago, you may need a tire that's still sticky, but a better all-season around tire that can handle a little bit of snow. You see what I'm saying? So aim for a tire that is for your use, period. If you know that you don't drive this car that often, but you know it has 700 wheel horsepower, you might not feel bad about putting some but semi-drag tires in the rear because you just want to be able to hook whenever you want to go out there for spirit running. So get a tire for its use, period. I'm not going to get so much into the wheels because that's your personal preference. You guys can choose to pick whatever wheels you want. That's up to you. Just make sure that you size the tire right, especially if you have an all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. All right? Cool. Let's go. And any questions, comment them below. I'm going to go through these comments. And if any questions that I think I can make a video on, I'm going to make a video on it. Yes, so because I want to get active on this channel again. Now, now that you took the tires, the wheels, the suspension, the brakes, now we're moving more into the car. Now we're dealing about the performance of the vehicle. We took care of the look. You added whatever you wanted to add on the outside. The car looks good. You did whatever. We're talking about performance now. This is a VR30 Q50. Depending on if it's a red sport, silver sport, or regular version, whatever you want to call it, you took care of all the maintenance. Now we want to talk about modification. The number one thing that you have to do before, once again, tuning the vehicle, even if it's stock, yes, I'm going to include this. Even if it's stock, yes, get an upgraded heat exchanger. I know you guys want to jump into performance, but you're quickly going to find out that these cars heat so quickly that no matter if you live in the middle of the winter or if it's the middle of an Arizona summer, these cars will heat so quickly and you will notice the difference in performance after you more spirited driving, because the car wants to protect itself because of the extreme heat. Any car does this, but this car will do it definitely. So upgrade the heat exchanger. There's plenty of heat exchangers on the market to use. I'm not going to really give any recommendations in this video. I really should. I may still have some in the comments below or in the description below, but there's plenty of different brands that you can choose to go with, depending on your price point. But you're going to need an upgraded heat exchanger. Cool. If you guys want me to do a thorough heat exchanger review again, an updated one in 2024, comment 2024 in the comments. That will let me know that you guys really want me to do this again. So I'll go through from A through Z on the heat exchangers in the market and the ones I think are the best price points. So heat exchanger, that's the first performance modification when it comes to additional power. Cool. Now, second thing I want you guys to do is, I want you guys to touch the exhaust. Yes, depending on what state you live in, wherever you live in, I need you guys to touch the exhaust. Before in the past, we used to love putting lower downpipes on these vehicles because they were quite affordable and easy and cheaper. But I'm going to sit there and say officially in 2024, let's skip the lower downpipes. Yes, let's skip the lower downpipes. Let's go with full downpipes for the vehicle. This is when you replace the upper downpipe and the lower downpipe and wrap that out and you just put one pipe between it. Pull as no diddy. Reason being is the price difference could be there, but I would recommend just changing the whole downpipe at as one swoop, because at the end of the day, it's going to be better for the turbos, for them to exhaust a lot better, for them to spool up a little bit quicker, a lot quicker, and usually it may change the sound up to the liking of what you would actually like. So you would want to go with either high flow or catless downpipes. That's really up to you. If you live in a state or city where a state where you don't have visual of catalytic converters and or check engine lights being on your dash isn't going to affect you with inspections every year, you go with catless. Do whatever you want. But if you live, but if you care about the smells, if you care about inspections every year, visual or check engine lights, go with a catted downpipe. They're going to be a little bit more expensive. Yes, the catted downpipe will be a little bit more expensive because you have catalyst material that is burning off that excess amount of fumes or combustion or failed combustion, or I say failed combustion, but pretty much any toxins that need to be filtered so it can go out in the air, right? So I still like catted downpipes, even though I do live in New York State, and that's just how I like it to be. I notice catted downpipes usually muffle exhaust a little bit different than the catless exhaust. That's just my personal opinion. You hit the turbos a little bit more with catless, all right? But you can pick those two because you want the turbos to spool up quicker, and you want less restriction for the turbos so they can hold the amount of boost or turbine speed, okay? Cool. We're still on exhaust. Catback exhaust now. This one, you can do whatever you want with it. I've done Frankenstein exhaust where I use this brand wide pipe, this brand mid pipe, this brand axle back, or I went with just one brand from the cat all the way back, or you could do one brand from the downpipes all the way back. There's plenty of exhaust clips out there, but I could recommend it. There is a difference between 2.5 inch to 3 inch exhaust. Depending on if you want to make the most amount of wheel horsepower, you're going to need a 3 inch exhaust with a 3 inch downpipe. I'm saying that on video right now because if you're going to push 700 and some wheel horsepower, you can't be doing it on a 2.5 inch exhaust with just lower downpipes. You're not going to be able to hit the peak amount of boost and hold that power. Like, it's just not going to happen. So think about where you want to land, right? Think about how you're going to land and where you're landing right before you even take off. Right? So if you know that you want this car to be 400 or 500 wheel horsepower, you can do a 2.5 inch catback exhaust, 2.5 and or a 3 inch full downpipe, and you call it there. You're fine. You're not hindering performance. But if you know you can put a pure turbo or Z1 turbos or anything else more powerful on there, you're gonna need a 3 inch exhaust, 3 inch downpipes. Now I just want to say for this video in 2024, now there are 3.5 inch downpipes. I haven't made a video talking about it yet, but I would like to talk about that in the upcoming future. I don't know if that's really going to be beneficial for our platform or not. I don't know. So they're still relatively new. No shade there. I just know that it's new to the community. All right. Now we took care of we took care of the exhaust. We took care of the heat exchangers, right, and the different heat exchangers on the market for the vehicle. Now we're gonna move into, guess what? Intakes. Intakes is still some of the most controversial thing for almost any vehicle that needs an intake, because we don't know if they really add exhaust or add power. We don't know if they do add power. It's crazy. You can go into the Chevy world, an intake will add 20 horsepower because maybe Chevy didn't design their intake system to flow properly or have a proper induction flow rates, right? But then you get to another world, another car community, another car, and it doesn't affect the performance at all, even if you went from open engine bay or full cold air intake, whatever you choose to do. So understand, though, if you're aiming, once again, where do you want to land? You know you're pushing the turbines a lot higher in RPM, so the suction is going to be a lot stronger. We're going to need a less amount of bends, a really flowy intake system with less amount of bends in it, with a large amount of diameter piping, so we could get everything to get sucked in and sucked out and pushed out as fast as possible. In, out. Okay, pause, no diddy. So I gotta stop saying pause, no diddy, because that may not date that well. But there's plenty of intake systems out there. You can choose from them. There's dyno results out there. Look into it. You choose to purchase your intakes. So now that we took care of intakes, we took care of the full exhaust, and now we have the heat exchangers, whatever you want to choose and add to your car. I'm not going to go down into every different cooling modifications because there's plenty of them out there. I'm not putting that in this video. Now we can actually sit there and think, I now can tune my car. Yes, you took care of the wheels, the suspension, all that stuff. You have the car looking nice. You have the sound. You have the intake noise, and you're still on stock tune. And you have the heat upgraded heat exchanger. Now you can go and get the car tuned. Finally, the day has come. You can go get the car tuned. You could get the car tuned on 91, 87, whatever fuel you wanted. But now the car can get tuned. Most tuners are gonna give you up to a certain amount of horsepower. It ain't gonna be. There's plenty of dynos out there with these cars make on 91, 93 on all those modifications put together, right? And you go get the car tuned. You could get it tuned, remote tuned, where they'll do everything from the laptop, and you'll be wherever you are. You just have to do a couple of pulls on the highway. Don't get caught by police, or you go to the track and do it. Or you could do a dyno tune where they'll put the car on some rollers, spin that car in place, and they'll tune the car if there's a tuner close to you. There's plenty of tuners for EcuTech for these vehicles, but there's a good 5 to 10 tuners that are pretty much known in the community that people feel that they trust and know, and those are the ones who really get most of the business. Do your own research, ask questions, find if you are a part of a community of Q50 guys, ask them who they went with, and if you like the performance, then you choose to go so as you can. This part is really important because I want to make sure that you guys got all the components you want first for the vehicle, and then you tuned. Because when you start making changes to the car after that, you need to be retuned. That's additional price, right? So if you got the car here and you have it on 91, 93, and you have all these modifications, you're good to go. Click. That's it. You have done tuning your Infiniti Q50. Maintenance is done. You found the specific gear you want. The car is lowered, the proper tires. Everything's taken care of. It may be expensive, but your car is running right, and you know everything that goes on your car. Even if you didn't change something due to some of this work, at least you know where the car sits. If there ever is an issue, you know where to go and how to get it fixed or mitigate it. You have some information about your vehicle, and you know what's going on with it. So now this is going to lead us to the fourth video. Well, turbos, E85, and other things that are very important for the community on how to make additional power. I didn't include that in this video because I want you guys to get the prerequisites. These are all prerequisites so that when you start making additional power, guess what happens now? Now you know this stuff is taken care of. Now you're going to have to buy additional points. So outside of that, guys, you have good morning, good afternoon, good night. Check this next video I'm going to drop on pretty much turning up the power from your regular stock Q50, where you want to start adding up turbos and E85 and stuff and playing with race gas to make even more additional power, and what are some of the prerequisites. All right, so outside of that, guys, you have a good morning, good afternoon, night. I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you, guys.